All right, today we're diving into some pretty fascinating source material that performs its own forensic audit of the legal system. And let me tell you, it puts forward a really provocative and definitely controversial argument. It claims that the system we all think we know isn't what it seems at all. So let's get into what this theory is all about. The whole premise of the source material really kicks off with this one kinda unsettling question. It's designed to make you challenge everything you assume about a courtroom. The argument is that all the complexity, all the strange rituals, they aren't bugs in the system. They're features, engineered for a purpose we're not supposed to understand.
We see these things in movies and on TV, and we just accept them, right? The black robes, the weirdly specific language. But according to this analysis, every single one of these is a puzzle piece. The theory suggests these are clues that when you walk into a courtroom, you're not just in a building. You're stepping into a completely different reality, one with rules you were never taught.
Okay, so how does this theory build on those initial questions? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The source material paints a picture of the courtroom not as a hall of justice, but as a kind of temple. And it alleges that a specific ritual is performed there, one designed to psychologically disempower you from the very moment you walk through the door.
So let's break down how the source material sees the physical space itself. The theory goes like this. When you pass the bar, it's symbolic. You're leaving the land and stepping onto their ship. When you're in the dock, you're basically being treated like cargo. The judge sits way up high on the bench, making them the captain with absolute authority. And that gold-fringed flag you see? According to this theory, that's the signal that you're not operating under civilian law, but under Admiralty or Maritime Jurisdiction. And this is where the theory gets a little more occult. It argues that the judge's black robe isn't about looking serious and sober. It's symbolic of a priest of Saturn. So in this interpretation, the judge isn't some impartial referee, but a priest performing a right to enforce limitation, control, and, well, even death. Okay, so if the court isn't using the law we all think it is, then what law is it using? This brings us to the absolute core of the source material's argument, an alleged jurisdictional switch it calls the hijacking of our entire legal operating system. So on one side, you have what the source calls natural law, or the law of the land. The idea is simple. You're a sovereign being, and a real crime requires a real victim with real harm. On the other side, you've got what the source calls the archonic virus, Admiralty law, the law of the sea. And in this system, there are no sovereign beings, only corporate vessels in commerce. It's all about enforcing contracts. And here's the absolute kicker. The central claim of this entire theory is that our courtrooms today operate exclusively under this law of the sea. But wait a minute. You're probably thinking, how could a switch like that even happen without anyone noticing? Well, the source claims it's an incredible act of legal alchemy that takes place the moment you're born. And this is where they introduce a concept called the straw man. So what is this straw man? Well, according to this theory, it's basically a ghost in the machine. It's a legal corporate doppelganger of you. It's not the living, breathing you. It's a separate entity created by the state. And the way you tell the difference? The straw man's name is always written in all capital letters. The source literally calls this process a masterpiece of legalistic fraud. The claim is that when your parents sign a birth certificate, they think they're just recording a birth, but they're unknowingly registering you, which the theory says means they're transferring legal title to the state. The state then allegedly uses that certificate to create a financial bond, basically securitizing your entire lifetime of labor. You, the human being, become the collateral for this financial instrument. And that brings us to the most crucial part of this whole theory. A legal doppelganger, this straw man, was created, and you, the living person, have been trained your whole life to unwittingly take responsibility for all of its debts and obligations. According to the source, the state doesn't really deal with you. It only deals with your corporate straw man. So all of this, it all comes to a head right back in that courtroom. The stage is now set for the final act, where you are allegedly tricked through a clever game of words into accepting liability for this corporate fiction. Think about this. According to this audit, your fate in court is sealed way before a single piece of evidence is even mentioned. The whole trap, they claim, is sprung with the very first question the judge asks you. And there it is. It seems so simple, right? Just a question to confirm your identity. But according to the source, it is anything but. This right here is the trap. The argument is that the judge isn't asking who you are. They are making you a contractual offer. They're asking if you will verbally agree to be legally joined with the corporate fiction and cover all its debts. Answering yes in this view is like signing a contract on the dotted line.
And this legal maneuver has a name, joinder. By saying yes, you supposedly commit joinder. You agree to represent this fictional corporation, and in doing so, you surrender your sovereign rights and agree to play by the commercial Admiralty rules of their game. But it doesn't stop there. The final weapon in this alleged setup is the language itself, what the source calls legalese. It looks and sounds like English, but the words supposedly have completely different legal meanings. For example, when a judge asks if you understand, the theory is they're legally asking if you will stand under their authority. A person in a statute doesn't mean a human being, it means a corporation. The source calls this a form of linguistic sorcery.
So, after all of that, what does it all add up to? What's the bottom line? Well, the source's final indictment presents the entire legal system as the most perfect and invisible prison ever built.
And here's that indictment in a nutshell. The system is seen as this ingenious trap that uses a fraudulent birth contract, the black magic of the courtroom, and a deceptive language to literally turn free, sovereign beings into corporate assets owned by the state. And from the source's point of view, this is why it matters to you. The claim is that we have all been turned from sovereigns of the land into, well, corporate cargo, lost at sea. Trained our entire lives to answer for a legal ghost in the machine that isn't us, forever trapped in their commercial jurisdiction. So, the source material leaves us with one last pretty profound question to think about. Its theory suggests a war not just for your mind, but for your very legal identity. It asks you, if you are not the person in all capital letters, then who are you? Something to chew on.